Welcome to Quantum Revenue Expansion, where we keep you motivated, inspired, and thinking big. Up-leveling into quantum revenue is a choice that we can all make in any moment, and then continue to make that choice to stay in that space each day. On this podcast, Ursula will share revenue growth strategies to reach your next level and introduce you to CEOs just like you who are making it happen. What's your next quantum leap going to be? See it, own it, and take that first step. If this is you, then Ursula wants to invite you to join us at the next 2X Intensive now. Go to salescoachnow.com/apply. You are listening to Quantum Revenue Expansion with your host, Ursula Menchez. Let's go.
Welcome back to Quantum Revenue Expansion, the podcast where we help you take your annual income and turn it into your monthly income. Super excited to have you back with me today. I'm doing another two-part solo show, which I'm really excited about because we're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about how to sell with confidence. And I know this is a topic that's near and dear to your heart because you're listening to this show. I know that our clients always want to feel more confident in the sales process. And we used to offer a course called Sales Camp Live. And back in the day before the pandemic, we offered courses in Minnesota and in California. And it was in person and it was so much fun. And I really miss those days. And so I wanted to bring some of that energy back, that sales camp energy, because the whole point of sales camp was to make selling fun and easy. And it's tough for selling to be fun and easy if you don't have confidence. So I invite you to get out your pen and paper, because while I have some notes, I have a lot of notes actually, there's a lot of things that I'm sure that will come up that I'm going to want to share with you about the sales process, and you're going to want to write these things down. So definitely grab that pen and paper. A couple of housekeeping things. If you haven't yet, definitely go to ursulainc.co/apply. And just so you know, we do offer a special package for anyone who wants to hang out with us at the 2X Intensive if you haven't yet. That next course is coming up in a few weeks. And if you fill out the application, it will come to us and my team will get you all the information. And the 2X Intensive is just packed with strategy on truly how to 2X your revenue and shave 10 or more hours off your work week. So if that's a conversation you'd like to be in, then you definitely want to be there. And our clients, reported incredible results during the pandemic. And then during the last year, as the pandemic sort of shifted, right? And we're in a much different time now, but our clients continue to report these great breakthroughs. And if you're not having that in your business right now, I want to invite you to just come and hang out with us, fill out the application, send us the info, we'll get you all the details. Also, we have a great free gift. When you go to ursulainc.co on our homepage, Quantum Revenue Expansion, the masterclass pairs beautifully with this podcast. So if you haven't downloaded that, that's free. Just put your information in and we'll send you the course. And the course is 3 parts. First, how to create your brand new quantum revenue container to truly turn your annual income into your monthly income. So I break that down for you. Then we talk about how to up-level your pricing, your packages, and your marketing, especially when you start to take a quantum leap in business. Often you need to tweak those things, pricing, packages, and marketing. So we help you do that. And then during the 3rd part of the course, I show you how to collapse time and get to your goal even faster. So if that sounds like a fun conversation, you definitely want to jump into that. Okay, I think that's all the housekeeping. We have a little sip here and cheers. Excuse me, I have my decaf coffee ready to go. I just love the taste of coffee. I don't love the caffeine. I also have my water ready to go. So, perfect. Let's dive in. So I'm going to share 7 tips with you that are really going to help increase your confidence in the sales process. And when I first started out in sales, I hated everything about it. And that was hated with an H. And I don't like to use that word, but I did. I truly disliked everything about selling. It was painful to me. It felt forced. It felt salesy. It felt like I was calling people who didn't want what I had. Now, mind you, back then I was in the technology arena. So I sold consulting, I sold technical training classes like for Microsoft, Citrix, some high-end courses, Excel, some of the more basic office classes, and we sold them to large corporations. And when I first started, my sales manager, he really said, selling is a numbers game. And, your job is to make 100 cold calls every single day and, put it on a tick sheet before you can go home. And in the beginning, I thought, well, that makes sense, right? Like statistically, hopefully the more calls that I make, the more likely it is that I'm going to reach my sales goal. It seems like it makes sense. Well, I found out pretty quickly that I didn't really know what to say or how to say it. I had a sales script, but it felt off, like something was missing. And the truth is, no one had given me permission. Not that I needed permission, but I hadn't read the right book or I hadn't whatever. So I didn't know that I could be truly relational in the sales process. I didn't know I could care about my clients. I didn't know that I didn't have to be transactional, because truly that's what it felt like. It felt like it was a very transactional process. I would call up, an IT director or a VP of IT, and my job was to figure out if I could sell them something, right? If I could transact the sale. And it just was not fun at all. And I kept looking for what am I missing? Because there were some people in my office who seemed to have fun during the sales process. And I remember one of the other salespeople on the team who I really looked up to seemed to have a great time. And she had some of the biggest accounts. She definitely made the most money. She was very organized but ran her sales territory like it was her own company for sure. But also, I could hear her on the phone with her clients, and she always sounded sometimes I'm thinking, is she talking to her mom, right? Is that her dad on the phone? Maybe her brother called her. And I realized very quickly, that's who she was. She was just being herself. And she was selling like crazy, like she was so successful. And something started to click, just by hearing her on the phone. I started to think, wow, this isn't transactional, right? Even though we're selling to corporations, this feels very relational. I could be relational, right? I had a degree in psychology and communication. I had learned how to talk to people. Why couldn't I just be more conversational? Why couldn't I connect more? And about that same time, I found a book that changed my life by the now late Dr. Wayne Dyer, called The Power of Intention. And that book was amazing, right? And, I started to take on this new belief that I could be conversational. And then I tied it to this belief and idea that I could start to be intentional in the sales process, that I could ask for the sale, not from a place of scarcity, but from a place of confidence that I was there to truly solve a problem or meet a need. And that really started to shift a lot of things. And I kept reading a lot of books. I love, one of my favorite books is The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. I love The Sales Bible by Jeffrey Gitomer. And, there were a lot of them. Zig Ziglar had great books. And all of those books helped me. They helped me with the sales process. They helped me see that, there was a beginning, a middle, and end to sales conversations. And they gave me some great verbiage. What I didn't find in there, though, was how to really be conversational and how to really connect. That came later. And I would say, when I started my sales career, it was in the mid to late 1990s. Oh my gosh, it sounds so far away now. And transactional sales were more of the thing of the day. So what my friend was doing, the other salesperson, was pretty, cutting edge. She was just being herself and doing a lot of selling, right? And today we know it's okay to be conversational. Not only is it okay, but we have to really connect. We have to be authentic, right? People can sense that from a million miles away. And so as you're listening today, I'm going to guess that you've heard some of the things I'm going to share before, but I invite you to listen with fresh ears. And I invite you to listen from a place of, what are one or two things that I could take away? Or what do I need to be reminded of that I stopped doing in the sales process that could really help me right now? And when you do that, you'll come to this information, you'll get this information, you'll receive the information in a different way. So to really set the stage for this conversation about how to sell with confidence, I want to remind you and give you the platform of knowing that people buy confidence, okay? When someone buys something from you, whether it's a product or a service, whether you're selling to a corporation or an individual, if you're selling to a corporation, right, there's an individual who makes the decision. There's an individual who, pays for it or they're not paying individually, but they're handling the payment, right? So you're always selling to one person. Sometimes it could be group selling, but ultimately there's usually one person who makes the decision. And so beneath all of this, right, the person to whom you're offering your product or service must feel confident in your ability to solve their problem. So often we think about it's our confidence. And yes, I'm saying how to sell with confidence, but a big part of that is the confidence that you are sharing with the person who's in front of you, because that person needs to be super confident, right? That you are going to solve their problem or meet their need. That's why they buy from you. So the confidence is on both sides of the fence. And I think that's often forgotten in the sales process because we think it's just about us having confidence. No, while that's important, I want you to be confident that you can solve their problem or meet their need. The person that's in front of you that you're talking to, they have to have equal confidence. They have to feel sure, oh my gosh, yes, of course, this person can solve my problem or meet my need. Because the second that confidence is exchanged, they're probably going to buy from you, unless there's some glaring reason they can't, or it's not a fit or whatever it might be. But again, people come to you to solve their problem, meet a need. When the confidence exchange happens, they're in. So remember that as we go through this, right? All of this, the 7 tips I'm going to share with you between the show today and part 2 is to give you and the person you're selling to the confidence that your product or service is going to help them. All right. Okay, so let's jump in. So I'm going to give you 7 tips, and we'll cover the first 3 tips in this show, and then the final 4 tips in the other show, because it's a lot, and we do 30-minute shows here. So sometimes I nearly go over that, but I don't like to go too far because often people are listening in their car or on the treadmill, and I want to make sure you can cover it in this amount of time. And having the pause in between this show, and the next one will also give you time to digest it, take it in, right, and start to apply some of it. Excuse me, I got a little frog this morning. All right, drink of water. Here we go. Tip number 1, believe in your product or service. Now, you're probably thinking, yeah, Ursula, that's probably important, right? Or, of course, I need to believe in my product or service. I will tell you though, I've been doing this for a minute and working with a lot of sales professionals and entrepreneurs. And I find that this gets overlooked because sometimes we have some doubts in our product or service, or we might get a bad review or some client's upset or whatever. And it's all fixable, it's all shiftable. And we ignore, out of 100 positive reviews, maybe we get a couple that were negative or someone had to work through something, and we tend to focus on those. And we don't tend to focus on the other 98 people or 98% of the people who we've helped. And so human nature is to look for the negative. And when we look for the negative, we can spin out, right? And we can end up in a place we don't want to be, which is not believing in our product or service, or forgetting how much our product or service really does help businesses or help people. So believing in your product or service is first and foremost. Now, in the corporate world, I've met salespeople who don't even like the product or service they sell, right? They don't believe in it at all. And then they wonder why they're not successful. Well, if you're selling someone else's product or service, you have to believe in it. You have to believe that it's a great solution. Otherwise, it's kind of a lost cause, because you're not going to sell very much. Unless, maybe if someone's a sociopath, right? Like, and can kind of override that or can hide that really well. The rest of us, though, it's almost impossible. So if let's say you work for a corporation and you're not believing in the product or service, you have a choice. Like, either you have to get on board with it and figure out what you do believe in about it, or sell a different product or service underneath wherever that umbrella is, right? Or second, I would go sell something else. Like, I wouldn't sell, I couldn't stay. That just wouldn't be, I couldn't do it. So think about that. Now for my CEOs, if it is your product or service and you're not believing in this moment, that can happen, right? And I would take a good look at, like, what's come up that's made me not believe in my product or service. Like, what's kind of showed up on this journey that I need to either deal with, I need to shift, or do I need to let something go? Like, sometimes, right, we do have, customers or clients maybe who are upset about something, and we can kind of obsess about it and it gets stuck in the craw, right? Maybe you just need to let that go. Maybe you need to talk to a coach or a mentor to get some support around that. Do whatever you need to clear that out, so that you can move forward. Sometimes if you offer, a lot of times in the service-based industry, we can shift our products a lot, or they change or they evolve. And sometimes if you're feeling not confident in the sales process, it's because you need to change something in your service offerings, right? And it could be a small thing, but maybe there's just something that in the back of your head it's like bugging you, right? You keep thinking, oh my gosh, I just need to change that. And I've been so busy, I haven't taken time to do it. And then you go to have a conversation and to sell something and you're just feeling off about it, right? You're like, oh, something feels weird. That's what it is. You're picking up on something you need to shift or change. So make the shift or change to your product or your services so that you can believe in what you're selling again. Because if you don't believe in it, I'm telling you, like, it's really, really challenging. All right. So that is tip number one. You got to believe in it. Period. End story. Tip number two is to be prepared. And I know this sounds completely obvious, but let me tell you something. We all get super busy during our days, whether we're running our own company or, we're working for someone else, we're working for another company in sales situation. And we forget, like, we get so used to what we're doing that we forget to prepare for the specific client who's in front of us. And preparation can look like a lot of different things, right? If you're selling to a corporation, or maybe you're going in and there's going to be a conference room with 3 to 4 people in it, I'd be prepared, right? I'm not saying you need to do a PowerPoint unless they want you to, but I would bring information to show them. I would bring visuals. I would bring, I would have my notes printed out. I would have the questions I'm going to ask them. And if it's a more formal presentation where you are doing a PowerPoint, don't PowerPoint them to death, right? Maybe like a few PowerPoint slides. I would have an agenda, like a little bit of a formal agenda, just with some high level bullet points on what you're going to cover. And then you tell them, here's what we're going to cover today. And then you cover it. And then you tell them what you covered. Along the way, you open it up so they can ask questions, right? And that whole process is about helping them make a decision. During part two, I'll talk more about how to ask those open-ended questions, right? That are really powerful, because I've learned over the years, like, this is a piece that people miss. So know that I'll cover this. We'll go back to it. But for right now, I'm just talking high level, is to be prepared. Be prepared in whatever that might mean. If you're selling over Zoom, which happens a lot now, still be prepared, right? Like, don't get too comfortable in the sales process, because then we get complacent and then we start to miss things, right? When we're when we're following the same script every day, we'll miss different pieces. We'll miss bullet points. We'll miss things. And it's because we're creatures of habit, and our brain gets into habits as well. And then you don't see other things around you. So be prepared. And if it makes sense, do a role play. Like there's times when we role play with our clients or when they role play with each other. When we used to do sales camp, which I was talking about earlier, we would bring real world scenarios, and during class, we would role play them to give our clients the opportunity to practice exactly what they would say. And they found out very quickly that they didn't have to say as much as they thought they did, which again, we're going to talk about in the next show. But high level, just know, like, be prepared, be ready with whatever it is they need. And when I was selling, I would be over prepared. For those who know me, that wouldn't surprise them. I would be over prepared. I would have all the different things that I thought that might cover. Now, sometimes over preparation, though, people can sense that there might be a lack of confidence, right? So don't over prepare, but be prepared. I also used to do things like when we would meet in person, I would bring donuts for the sales team. I would bring their favorite beverage from the local coffee shop, and I would find out what it was ahead of time. I would tell them that I was bringing it, and then I would bring it. And that always made such a difference because people are always shocked that, number one, I actually got the drink right. Number two, that I brought it with me. Number three, that it arrived warm if it was supposed to be a hot drink, right? And that was such a powerful way to kick off the relationship because, one, I was already going above and beyond, which is what I would do if they were my client. And so that showed them a lot. And second, it sealed in that I kept my word, right? And I do keep my word. That's very important to me. And so when I would do this for my client, my prospective clients, they would want to do business with me because they knew I was going to follow through. I was going to do what I said I was going to do, and I was most likely going to be above and beyond. So that's where the preparation comes in. How can you stand out? Now, in this virtual world we live in today, we've coached some of our clients on sending a coffee card ahead of time. You could have coffee delivered to their office or their house if they're working from home, if it's not too creepy and maybe they don't want to give you their address, but you could have Uber Eats or somebody deliver DoorDash, right? Somebody could deliver some coffee or some donuts, whatever. Like, think about how to be different. Now I've gotten fun, coffee gift certificates on my phone, like from Starbucks, or we have Caribou in Minnesota. So there's so many ways you can stand out. The whole point is to be as prepared as possible. Know as much as you can about the client. Do research. Google is our friend. You can learn a lot about the company before you get there, right? Or the prospect. So tip number 2, be prepared. Tip number 3. So you're believing in the product or service. You are prepared, maybe a little over prepared, but you're ready to go, right? Maybe you've sent them something ahead of time. Number 3 is to arrive either at the Zoom conversation or arrive at their location prepared to solve their problem or meet their need. Again, these things seem subtle, and there's like, of course I'm going to arrive to be, I'm going to arrive to solve the problem, meet their need. I can tell you though, this doesn't happen on the regular. Often people just show up. They're kind of like off the cuff. They show up, but they're not truly, they're not really prepared. And so so many things I want to share. My first book, Selling with Intention, covered a lot of these pieces. So you could always download that book or get a copy for yourself. It's on Amazon. And this piece is about really being intentional in the sales process and selling with intention. When you arrive from the place that I'm here to solve a problem or meet a need. And if I can't, I'm here to refer you to somebody who can. And I encourage our clients to say that to their prospects. We say it, right? Like, I'm here to solve a problem or meet a need. If I can, great. If I can't, again, I'm going to refer you to someone else. So I'm showing up in your Zoom world intentionally. I'm showing up because I believe in my product or service. I'm prepared and I have arrived to solve your problem or meet a need. These 3 things, like when you start to apply these 3 things, consistently, your sales will go up because your prospect will feel that you are there to solve a problem or meet a need. Your prospect will feel that you are prepared, that you did take the time, that you do care. And that is a massive part of selling with confidence, because when you do those three things, I guarantee you're going to wow them. And people aren't wowed much today. Let me tell you, people aren't wowed at all. And so within all of this also is the idea that, some of the best advice that I was ever given is selling is not about me. Selling is not about you. Selling is about the person who's in front of you. Selling is about solving the problem, meeting the need of the person in front of you. So when you do these things, when you believe in your product or service, when you show up prepared, when you arrive to solve their problem or meet their need, your prospect is going to feel that. Your prospect is going to feel that how much you care and that you're there for them, right? Whether you can help them or not. And when you come from that energy, you're going to feel more confident, right? Who doesn't feel confident when you believe in what you're doing, when you are prepared, and when you arrive to help someone with their product, their business or their life with the product or service you offer, right? You can't help but start to feel more confident. Okay, so this is part 1. I'm going to save the next 4 tips for part 2. So definitely, take more notes, start to apply these things this week, and really see how this starts to help shift the sales process for you so that you could truly take that quantum leap in sales that you want to. All right, that's it for this week, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining us today. And if you are ready to make your next quantum leap, let's do it. Ursula invites you to join us at the 2X Intensive. Go to salescoachnow.com/apply. Don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast app.